Hi, good morning, Matthias. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks. What about you?
I'm good as well. Thank you very much. We are here today because you have hit your first target on your first account that you have with us with Audacity. How was that?
It was amazing. For me, I bought the first account at the beginning of this year. It
Mhm.
took me about 2.5 or almost 3 months to finish the challenge. I like to take time when doing challenges, and I also like to take time when I'm being on a funded account. So it took me another 5 to 6 weeks to generate my profits. I always aim like something about 5% for profits on the funded account before I request a payout. Um, yeah, I avoid overtrading at all time. I wait for my signature setups, which sometimes show up once a week or even less. And that's what I did on this account. And yeah, I received the payment a couple of days before, and I gotta say, overall, I'm very happy.
Very good, very good. So, congratulations from our side for your first target.
Thanks.
You are on a $120,000 account, correct?
120K account.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good. So, before we start talking a little bit about the account and all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you started trading? First of all, are you a full-time trader at the moment, or is it a second source of income for you?
For me, I'm a full-time trader. I trade for a living. I started this whole thing 5 years ago during the COVID pandemic. I was always, since like my very beginning, I was always curious on how to be able to earn money online, how to get rid of the cold 9 to 5 rat race. I was always looking for an alternative life to achieve the good life for me. And I'm very happy that 5 years ago I got into trading. I tried some other businesses as well before, did not work for me personally, but I could clearly feel like 1 week after I get into trading, I was pretty sure that that is going to be my thing. And I committed myself to acquire the trading skill until I'm there or either completely fail. And I'm very happy that I sticked until this day, but it wasn't that easy all the time, especially the first like 3 years were an emotional roller coaster to say it honestly. At first you think like you see the advertising of training and you get a certain feeling of that seems to be easy. You can either buy or sell, and there's only two directions in where the price can go, right? So it should be not that hard to be like a little bit more on the winning side than on the losing side. Seems like an easy job, but I think everyone who traded for a longer period of time will sooner or later get that it's easier said than done.
Of course.
Consistency is a very hard thing to achieve, and in the first 3 years, I did not earn a single penny from trading, to be honest with you. I thought that it would take me approximately 1 year to acquire the skill and to trade for a living after that, but it turned out to be way more difficult than thought initially by me. And after like almost 3 years, I was this close before throwing the towel,
Mm.
but I said to myself, I made it this far. I invested so much blood, sweat, and tears. Let's give it one more shot. And I adapted a lot. I changed a lot. I tried a lot. And finally, I made it to get my first funded account, which was really a breakthrough and key moment for me because it was like just a confirmation for myself. Hey, you can do it if you just stick long enough with it. And after the first funded account and after the first payout, things started to get comparably easy.
Mhm.
I demonstrated to myself that I can make it, and I was sure and I was convinced that I can make it again and all over again.
So do
And
you
that's
think
exactly
that
what happened.
it was mainly due to a psychological change from your side, or did you
I
have
think I
like a
can
change in
100%.
strategy or, you know?
I think I can 100% agree that it was mainly psychologically. I think there are a lot of profitable strategies out there, but not every strategy will work with every trader.
True.
There has to be you need to get a strategy or develop a strategy that really fits your personality. Strategy A can work for trader X, and strategy B can work for trader Y. It's not that it's not that clear all the time. At
Mm-hmm.
first, I thought I would be good at scalping
Mm-hmm.
and be on like really fast-paced trades, sometimes having trades that last not even 5 minutes, sitting in front of the screen and really try to capture minor and small movements. Um, what then happened to me, I realized that this is just too noisy on the lower time frames, you know. I am not good at making decisions when I need to sit in front of the screen the whole time and look at the numbers and look at the chart going rapidly up and down. I realized that my success would rather be in like day trading. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing currently, I am mostly trading on the H1 time frame
Okay.
and my trades last for approximately 4 to 10 hours, anywhere in between that. And I also don't like to sit the whole day in front of the screen and stare at the charts and always second questioning your guess and always thinking like, will it gonna work? Will it not gonna work? I like to put a trade and I like to set it and let it unfold in the way it will unfold. Managing, yes, but not all the time trying to get something more out of the markets. Because what I discovered for myself, you will be able to make way better decisions when you're out of the market than when you're in the market and you see your profits going up and down.
Of
And you
course.
got to be aware of that, that it will affect the psychological.
You know, the thing is that you said something that is really interesting. When someone first approached this industry, they think it's either going up or it's going down. So it's a 50-50 thing. All right. But really and truly, that is just the first step that you need to choose the direction, because the entire like job of a trader comes after, when you have to manage a position, when you have to manage a trade. Because true is maybe you place a long and straight away is going in your direction, but how long are you going to keep that position open for? What is the level that you are aiming at? Because true, you got it right as soon as you enter in a trade and maybe it's going in your direction, but it can reverse pretty easily, especially if you're looking in a short time frame, like I don't know, a scalping setup, or even like a day trade setup. So you will need to manage the trade, and that is where the experience will help you through that. But tell me something. Over the past 5 years, how, on top of the psychology part, that of course I'm sure played a fundamental role in achieving your consistency. But how has your strategy changed? When I mean, what I mean by strategy, I also refer to, I don't know, for example, like different asset classes that you are now dealing with respect to the past, or I don't know, different levels of different management of risk management, risk levels. How did that change? How did you start it, and how did you end up where you are at the moment?
Um, Very interesting question. Let me start by maybe mentioning the pairs I like to trade mostly. I like to stick to indice pairs like US 30, US 100, Germany 40,
Mm-hmm.
but I also like to trade occasionally gold or Forex pairs like Euro, US dollar. Those are my majors. I don't to try to focus on too many asset classes at the same time because you will just get confused if you see on 30 different pairs, like 15 different setups, you will be messed up in your head trying to decide which pair you're going to take. So I like to stick to a few ones that I have good experience with, where I feel my strategy is playing the most.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Another thing that helps me, I like to stick to having one single trade per day.
Okay.
So I don't try to re-enter like a couple of times, which a lot of traders do. This is mainly because I tended to revenge trade kind of
Mm.
a lot. I think many traders are aware of that. But in a moment where you execute the second trade, for example, after a loss, you are most of the time not even aware that this is more a revenge trade than a logical derived decision, right? So what me helped a lot is taking less trades, which for me means a maximum of one trade idea per day,
Mm-hmm.
not more than that. And what I also like is don't risk too much. I also like to have a risk reward ratio of approximately 1 to 1.5. So I don't
Okay.
like to go for like 5x return on a single trade. That's also mainly because of the psychological components. I realized that if you can achieve a high win rate, you will have a certain thing that's called momentum. You
Mm.
will constantly have the experience of winning and the confirmation that you can do it. And that will help you a lot to pull better trades. At least in my experience, that was very true. If I'm experiencing a losing streak of more of 10 trades, because I know like I have to go for a 1 to 5 or even more than that risk reward ratio, it's naturally going to produce a lower win rate,
Mm.
which will make it harder to consistently earn profits.
I agree. Honestly, I do agree. And I also agree with something that you said before. Like, there is not one single strategy that will fit all the traders. This job, what a lot of people don't understand is that it's really something that you will need to tailor on yourself. Because
Yeah,
once again, it's
100%.
not like one just simple decision. It's either long or short. It's all the management that comes after. And together with the management, there is all the part, involving the psychological impact of a trade on the person. So it's really, really something that is very much subjective. So if you already know that, you need to keep that momentum up, of course, I do agree that sometimes, especially in a day trade, frame, it's completely understandable from my side at least to want to sacrificate a little bit the risk reward ratio in order to have like a higher winning rate. If you don't mind me asking, how much is your rate at the moment?
Win rate? My win rate is, it doesn't sound that much, but for me, the key is just doing that consistently over a long
Mm.
period of time. People always think, I will name my win rate in a second, but let me say first, people always are in the illusion of, oh, you need to have a, let's say, 70% win rate at least to earn money, right?
Mhm.
That's how it gets advertised. The guru says, I can give you a strategy that will consistently produce 90%.
Mm.
I believe that at first time as well, I was also looking for like the one magical strategy that will eventually produce that kind of win rate for me. But the longer I've been into trading, the more I realized that first of all, it's very, very hard to have a strategy producing 80% win rate consistently. That can happen for maybe a couple of months, but you will probably not be able to sustain this win rate for years and years. And the second thing, and that's the most important thing, it's not even necessary in order to make money with trading to have such a high win rate. For me, as a day trader with 1 to 1.5 risk reward, it's all mathematical numbers at the end, right? There's a certain number where you would have your break even point, and that is if you type it in the calculator, something around 40% maybe even a little bit less. And for me, I have kind of a 46% win rate at the time. And that doesn't sound like a high win rate at first, but if you can replicate it over a certain months and don't have big losing streaks, you will earn good money from that win rate. But it doesn't sound good if you would ever have that. But it's the truth at the end of the day. You can have a win rate for a short period of time, which is very high, but that's not that what matters to me most. For me, what matters is how long can you continue to have this win rate? How long, how consistently can you have it?
Of course, of course.
That's my experience with the win
Let me
rate.
tell you also something that I've heard over the years a lot is defining like a win rate as a one specific number. This is something that to me is just impossible as a trader because, you know, as a trader, you go, even if you just want to focus in one calendar year, you have like a lot of like seasonalities, events. Nowadays, geopolitical risk is just around the corner. So there is a lot of like impact in the market. So you can't think of having like, you know, I want to have like a 70% winning rate and that's it. Like, no, I think we need to start thinking about the win rate more as a range rather than like one specific number. And I also think that the most important thing, even if you know, there are traders who, someone they use stop loss, some others like they don't use a stop loss, some other like they use a take profit, some other they don't, and they just manually, you know, manage a trade. What I think is that what is dangerous for someone that is only focusing on the win rate is that a lot of them they don't put a stop loss in order to not compromise this imaginary number that they have in their mind, which I think this is really really bad in a way. So I completely agree to have a range in mind for a winning rate where you want to stay within those limits. And then maybe, you know, when you see that the things are going in a different way from the one that you from the scenario that you put in your mind, that's the moment where you stop and say like, okay, something is not right. Maybe let's go back and back test a little bit the strategy. But I think it's important to have, you know, a specific risk, at least the risk part, not the reward, but at least the risk part needs to be set in a very, very specific way. How do you behave, you know, in terms of like risk management, how you control that part?
As I said before, for me, the most part is done by limiting myself to one single
Mm.
trade idea per day. That helped me the most. It was hard at first because you see so many trading opportunities day by
Mm.
day. And if you have a certain limit with one trade per day, you often get in a situation where you can seize the opportunity, but you know you're basically not allowed to take another
Mm.
trade, even though later it may turn out that it would have been another winner, and that can hurt sometimes as well, I gotta admit. But at the flip side, there are often times where you are getting either greedy or you're getting in fear of losing more, and
Mm.
those are the two most crucial emotions for trading that can either benefit or destroy a trader's profits. And I am pretty much aware of that. And so I have just my system in place that protects me from taking a non-logical, non-systematical approach, but more an emotional approach.
That's good.
Um, what I also like to have is predefined exit and entry points. I know there are a bunch of traders out there that are using a mental stop loss and a mental take profit, or they may think they will see how the market unfolds and react to the circumstances that are given at a point of time. But I think, and I see this at most of my trading buddies who are doing well as well. You need to have kind of a predefined level for exit, either take profit or stop loss. Because in the event of your money, your number going up and down, you can easily get too greedy and think, I need to make a little bit more, although you originally had a point where you said, where you just said and knew that's the most likely point to the price reversing. And yeah, it has to be a logical decision rather than an emotional decision and based on some number you would like to have today in your journal of how many dollars you make. For me, that's personally um, support or resistance points, certain areas. I also like to take into this decision liquidity spots, fair value gaps, and yeah, the daily range that I expect to have in this day. Those are the three main points for me in order to determine the exit.
Interesting, interesting. You know, this is an interesting topic because I think that you had to work a lot on something that loads of traders struggle with, even after 20 years that they are in the market. I'm talking about the FOMO, so the fear of missing out. If you are restraining yourself to have like just one trade per day, then you need to run away from your laptop, I think, as soon as you finish your with your trade, because otherwise, you know, you will have the emotion. How did you actually? It required, I'm sure, a lot of practice. But if you can give, you know, some tips to other traders that are listening to us, in you know, towards this topic, what would you say? What would you suggest?
It depends on the strategy. If
Mm-hmm.
you're trading on the shorter time frames, you of course gotta more or less sit in front of the screen because you gotta react quick. You gotta be able to see what happens on a minute-to-minute basis. But for me as a day trader, where my trades are being for 5 or 10 hours in the markets, I don't get a big benefit by just watching the markets and watching my trade that I placed the whole day. It will more likely confuse my head and yeah, make me kind of emotional. I like to analyze clearly the market up front, so I don't rush my decisions, my trading decisions, not at all. But once I decided that this is my setup and all my confluences that I like to see are there, and I know this is a good trading opportunity, and the odds are basically for me and on my side. I execute my trade, and from that point of time on, I like to not look more than once or twice per hour on my trade.
Mm.
Because what I realize, the more I look at my trade, the more likely it will be for me in for second guessing my decision and maybe even messing up my original idea. That happened to me a lot, and I'm doing far more better if I try to manage my trade less than I did in the past.
Mm, I see.
So as I said, for me, my trades are going for 10 hours. I think a good compromise for that is looking at your trade maybe every half an hour, but not sitting in front of the screen for the whole day. Basically, the human brain is not made for looking at your own money going up and down the whole day. That will just keep your mind racing and it will not lead to very two well-balanced decisions, in my opinion.
Very
So I
good.
can recommend that to every trader.
Very
Take a
good.
break from time to time.
100%. I couldn't have said that better. Tell me something, Matthias. So we were starting talking a little bit about your strategy. You mentioned support and resistance, so market structure. We were referring to that when we were talking about exit strategy. So technically in jargon for your take profit. So when you take your money and go out. But how do you enter? Do you also like use any other, I don't know, indicators, or is just purely market structure and I'm assuming price actions?
What I like to do is not overcomplicating my trading decisions. In the past, I used to have 15 or 20 confluences
Mm.
for entering my trade. But that's very hard to get. That's the first thing. And also, sometimes you will lack objectiveness in looking at your trades. Is your
Mhm.
confluence there? Yes or no? It's not always that black and white. Sometimes you can have a feeling of yes or no.
Mm.
So I like to keep it rather simple than complicated. And I look mostly at structure, yes. I go by the old saying, the trend is your friend. Usually it is. There are market phases where it's not, but I can have most of the year good setups, good trading results by mainly following my trends. Of course, that's not my only confluence. As I said, market structure, I like to see. I am also aware that the market is lots of driven by liquidity and where are the orders.
Mhm.
And so if I see a fair value gap, I notice that I implement that as well in my trading decisions. And what I also like to respect a lot is if I'm looking for, let's take a quick example. I'm
Okay.
looking for going long on a certain pair. And I mainly like to see the market structure going up for at least the last 3 days. What I also like is to have a intraday retracement to, in this case, the downside of the pair. So I look at the price level at the reset time, so where the rollover happens. And if I try to go long, I need to have a intraday short movement before I can enter my buy position to
Hmm.
capture the next movement for my anticipated trend for the anticipated long position.
I see. I see. That's good. That's interesting. So you want to uh, get into the trade as soon as it continues to the trend. So as soon as the counter trend is finished, basically.
Exactly. I look for an
Retracement.
intraday counter trend retracement on the high time frame, and that is mostly derived by looking at the H1 time frame, but
Mm-hmm.
also, of course, compare it with H4, compare it with maybe M15 in order to see a little bit more.
I see. So you do a certain like top-down analysis and you look at other time frames.
Yes, I do. I do.
Of course, of course. Very well done. So, how was your journey with Audacity? This, as we mentioned, was your first account, but tell me something. Was in general your first funded account? Were you trading with your personal funds before? You have been funded with other companies when you started 5 years ago. How was the journey of getting funded?
Interesting questions. At first, I stick to demo trading,
Mm-hmm.
which I think every trader should do. No one is that smart to start right away with a personal life account or a funded account. You need to test your strategy and gain some market insight, gain some screen time. That's very important for having sustainable success afterwards. So the first 2.5 years, I solely practiced on demo trading, was back testing a lot, like really, really lots of time, trying different strategies, trying different statistics and everything. After that, I bought my first challenge. Um, and what happened then in my journey was a little bit kind of tough. I thought I would have good chance for getting success within the first 1 or 2
Mm.
challenges, but actually I failed the first 9 challenges. And that was so much against my expectation of how will I perform. And I started to doubting my whole strategy, my whole skill. I was, as I said before, I was close to throwing in the towel, but at the ninth attempt, I managed to successfully pass the challenge. And yeah, then it's easy. You just have to do a couple of more trades and you have it pay it, right? What I realized then, the pressure of you have to perform when you pass the challenge and you're trading a funded account is even higher than before. So I
Interesting.
did not have a payout with my very first funded account, which was which was very frustrating to me back then. But nevertheless, I got knocked down, but I managed to get up again and try another challenge. It took me 2 more attempts. I had a funded account, and eventually I reached my first payout. And after the experience, passing accounts got easier and easier. I really can't emphasize this too much. The more payouts you have and the more challenges you pass, the more success you're able to look back on yourself, the easier and effortlessly trading will get. When you have to make money because you need it and otherwise you won't have any income, trading gets worse and difficult and more frustrating than when you're more in a stand of mind in a when your mind is like
Clear.
you're not you're not very dependent of this next payout. It is nice to have, but if not, you're not going broke. So what does this have to do with Audacity? Another factor that is coming in with the prop firms is which partner do you trust?
Mm.
And for me, it has always been the same and always been certain experiences. You would like to have a partner where the challenge fee maybe is not like with 50% discount, as some firms are trying to promote out there. You would rather get a partner that is uh,
By your
not
side.
giving crazy discounts, not looking primarily at marketing, but is rather there to provide trustworthiness and transparency, a clear set of rules, and you don't have to worry about getting paid. With Audacity, which is, I think, there since 2012, of course, that's an impressive track record right there. You don't see that many firms being around there for this long. And that gave me an extra argument, an extra benefit for me. Like for me, it was clear that that is going to be the way that there I will not be betrayed. I will get my funds if I treat you fair, respect all the rules, trade appropriately. I will be paid out. And for other firms, that's sometimes something you will not see. Even if you stick to the rules, some people are just out there to get your money. And not every firm is something that I would recommend to anyone. But for Audacity, I can say I never had any issues. I received my credentials within a short period of time. Prices are fair, payouts are good. The process was easy, as you would expect it to be. So I'm happy overall. I really can say thank you, Audacity.
No, I have to say thank you to you because really, this is what is actually like making our day at this company. When the service that we are providing is actually like is doing a good job at the end of the day, and you traders are appreciating that. So thank you for your kind words. You know what is important is you just mentioned that, and what I think you earlier when you were telling me about your nine challenge that you lost. Uh, I didn't blink because, to be completely honest with you, Matthias, it's just normal. And honestly, I would invite you and also like other people that are listening to us to think that, yes, it's true. You invested some money and you lost that money. But imagine if instead of purchasing nine challenges that I'm sure is never going to be the same amount of capital that you would have put, into a broker account, and most of the times you would have lost it completely. So I think what is important here is to think that prop trading firms, companies that are providing funds, needs to be trustworthy because they really, really can help you towards your career as a trader. Because imagine opening like a brokerage account, 5K, 10K, 20K, and I'm keeping these numbers low because based on my experience, based on the experience of a lot of traders that I've been speaking with in the last years, the first account that they open, most of the times they tend to lose it, and it's not only one account; it's a second account, a third account, a fourth
Yep.
account, till they get to the stage where they manage to reach some sort of consistency. So your option of going to funding firms and finding like a provider, I'm sure is not going to be, it was not easy for you. And of course, it's not very easy nowadays to find like a good and trustworthy partner. But once you find someone like that, is actually saving you a lot of money. Because it is true, you might lose a couple of challenge before you get, your first payout, but it's still the cheapest option for you because you need to get the learning curve in this industry. It's really, really, really extremely steep. And the thing is that everyone has his own learning curve. So you will need to make some mistakes in order to learn from that. Because it's all, we mentioned that earlier, it's a lot about psychology, it's a lot about like finding your personality. So you need to go through the hustle in a way.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. You cannot expect to be like born a master. Trading is a certain skill and not an easy skill that has to be acquired over time. And as any skill, if you're going, for example, as compared with going to the university, you spend there a couple of years. How could you expect to be trading something that can be learned within 5 months? That doesn't make any sense.
Of course. Matthias, thank you very much for sharing your story with us today. I'm sure that a lot of traders will appreciate your journey and they can relate to you as well. So it's good to share a nice success story for us. Again, congratulations, and I wish you the best of luck on your account with us and on your trading career in general.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the
Thank you.
invitation today. It was a
Have a good
pleasure for
day.
me.
Bye.
You too. Bye.